I am back. Same day, same hat, a different jumper. It is cold, and when I say it's cold, I mean it's fucking freezing. And I lost my little neck warmer, Bellatrix, so I thought I would get into my hoodie and be all cozy. And while I have makeup on and don't look like trailer trash today, I thought we would get at least one more face-to-face video done, so we're going to do this thing. So for ages, I have been meaning to do part 2 of the Q&A. So you guys sent in a bunch of questions literally in January, and I'm getting to them now. I'll be better next time, I promise. So I just wanted to prompt you guys, if you want for the next Q&A, to pop down any questions you have for me down below, and we'll do another video where I answer your burning questions, whatever they may be, whether they're about me or witchcraft in general, whatever you like, pop them down below and we will do a Q&A much sooner than this one. Okay, so the first question is, now with many of these questions actually, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 questions, but some people have asked multiple questions. So last time I kind of asked them all in a row and then tried to answer, and I think it was a bit messy. So I will answer each question individually that each person's answered me. I think that will work. I haven't actually gone through these questions again to check, but let's do this thing. Okay, so the first questions come from Diana Lynn. And Diana asks, what are the pros and cons of living in Australia? Okay, so as compared to, she's asked another question, so I think I don't know where she's going, but, and some other people have actually asked specifically about being a witch in the Southern Hemisphere. So I'll just chuck out some general things. So something awesome about living in Australia is that people here are generally pretty chill. People are generally pretty friendly. I love that we're super multicultural as well. We always have been, especially in the areas that I grew up in. So my grandparents were immigrants, and so we always hung out in the areas that, you know, had a lot of other immigrants as well. And those areas have continued to be very, very heavily populated by people coming from all different places in the world. Now, when I was growing up, it was very much European. There were a lot of European people who had migrated here, and a lot of Indians as well. And now there's a lot of African people in those specific areas that I'm thinking of. Obviously, it's different in different places. Yeah, but it's just really awesome. It just means that we have an injection of incredible foods, you know, and culture and things like that from all over the world. So that's pretty cool. I do love that about Australia. One of the cons of living in Australia is that shit's really expensive here. It's become better in the last few years, with, you know, big businesses coming over to Australia and making things cheaper for us, which has been nice. But yeah, that's been something like, you know, and obviously being quite isolated from the rest of the world, except for, you know, a few countries around us. Obviously, you know, we've got New Zealand, which is like actually quite far away, but still like right there compared to a lot of other places. We've got Indonesia just above us. We've got Fiji. So there are like a few countries around, but we're quite isolated from a lot of the world. And that has various things that aren't so good. I have actually never traveled outside of the country, which will horrify a lot of people. But when we do want to travel anywhere, except for these few countries which are right around us, obviously it's quite expensive, very far away, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of some general stuff. Depending on where you live, the temperature is different too. Where I live, it's quite nice. I don't know if you can hear that. My son's making a bloody racket in the next room. It's distracting me. I don't think you can probably hear it though. Yeah, depending on where you are, the temperature is different here. So where I am, it's quite nice. It's quite temperate. We get all 4 seasons, which I love. So we're currently in winter. And I don't know, one of the cons is some of the creatures. All right, there's this big myth that Australia is just filled with creatures that want to kill you. But I've talked to other friends of mine who live in, like, for example, Florida, so with Brittany, and you know, other places in the US where, like, you guys have some fucking crazy shit over there too, okay? Like, yes, we've got big spiders, but so do you. Yes, we've got crocs, but you got alligators. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so it's definitely some anti-Australian propaganda, like, you know, head to Australia, you might accidentally get killed, you know what I mean? Like, same as everywhere else. But anyway, we do have large spiders. There was one that was in my room here just at the end of like summer, and I was really quite annoyed about that because I've moved down to a place now where there isn't a whole lot of nature, so I don't expect to see big spiders anymore. And even if I do live around nature, I'm like, no, you're not allowed in my house, you know? So anyway, that can be a problem from time to time. And I really, really, really hate big spiders. I hate them. That's a con. I hope that answers your question. All right. The next question from her is your country progressive, or are there big places that are perhaps ultra conservative like we're saddled with here in the USA? Okay. Let's do this thing. Okay. I really, really hate wokianity, as I call it. I think a lot of people think that they are progressive because of certain ideas that they have, but they don't realize that actually the way that they're thinking is incredibly regressive. You know, they're very closed-minded and very like one way or the highway, or like, I find it quite amusing. Well, it's not amusing at all. It's actually quite awful, but that a lot of people that come from backgrounds like, say, Christianity, where there's a very much a turn or burn message, actually have moved into a mirror image of that. So what they're doing is very different. It's dressed up, it looks different, but the message is essentially the same. If you don't think the way that we think, then you're evil. There's a lot of that happening under the banner of progressivism. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yes, Australia in general is quite politically left-leaning. We're very much a very, very left country. Certainly in, you know, more outback areas, the same as with many places, people would be considered more conservative or more right-wing leaning or whatever. Yeah, so I do think that we have... you know, there's issues on both sides, of course, but I think at the moment what is loudest and most toxic in many cases is actually the progressive movement. So that is what I will say about that. The next question is from Hemlock House. Hello, my dear. I hope you're watching. I know that you're like stepping away from YouTube and stuff, but maybe you'll see this. She asked, do you find it a challenge being a witch in the southern lands when so much focus is on the northern hemisphere with everything being opposite? Do you sometimes feel a bit left out? I certainly felt like this, particularly at the beginning of my practice, definitely. I actually, I was only coming across northern hemisphere based channels, and I thought, like, am I the only witch in Australia? Like, is it just me down here? Now, obviously, I know this is not a thing now. I've come across hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and I know there are thousands of witches and pagans and, you know, alternative spiritual folks in Australia and in the Southern Hemisphere as well, in the other countries in the Southern Hemisphere. So I don't find it as much of a thing now. And I think part of that is that there is a lot more people from the Southern Hemisphere, you know, on social media and on YouTube and stuff like that. There are more books as well on sort of by authors from down here. Also, I have noticed over the last few years, there's more of a tendency for people in the Northern Hemisphere to actually just kind of give the Southern Hemisphere a little bit of a mention. So that's really nice. You know, it's like, oh, it's summer here and this is what's happening. But also, you know, in the Southern Hemisphere, we know that it's the opposite season, you know, just like a little shout outs and stuff like that. I feel like happen a lot more regularly now. So I don't feel as left out. And part of that too, I think, is becoming part of the conversation. So this could be something, perhaps, if any of you are feeling left out, whether you're in the Southern Hemisphere or the Northern Hemisphere, by the way, if you are kind of feeling left out and quite alone, and kind of lonely in your craft and your experience, I think getting out there and actually sharing, like, you know, creating a little channel or whatever it is that you want to do can go a long way to actually building connections, helping you find other people and, you know, feel part of everything again. So yes, I did feel like that. No, I don't anymore. And then she asked also, do you find living in our neck of the woods challenging, especially if you have a Celtic-based deity? So I think working with deities that are from other lands I mean, for me, that's just part of the territory. I work with spirits of place, of this land, but in terms of actual deities, there are no deities that are native to where I live, that I work with, right? So I work with a Celtic one. I work with one that I guess could be considered Celtic. And then I have a Slavic deity, and then I have a deity, which I feel like I don't want to talk about, from another land. Let's just say that. And I don't find it, I only find it challenging in terms of other people. So like, you know, being on the internet, you're always going to have these people like, well, you can't do that because of this. Oh, you can't do that because of this. And blah, blah, blah. That's the only thing that I really find challenging about it, because I create my own connection with that deity. So it's like, it's completely personal. And so I haven't found that difficult. I really want to have the experience of going to the places where these particular beings are native to. I think that would be something else. Like, I think that would be connection on a whole different level. I would really love to bring home soil, like dirt, from those places, to have that kind of like physical connection to their place. I think that would be amazing. So I do think that there's like perhaps like a level or something that is impossible maybe to truly experience until you go to the place where that deity has kind of been formed, if you will. I think, or informed maybe. I think that is something, but I haven't found it personally something challenging for myself, but I would love to hear from you guys. You know, again, wherever you are in the world, you know, is that something that you find challenging if you are working with a deity or feel connected to a deity that is from another land? Is that something that you find challenging, difficult? The next question is from S. Stead. I don't know why I just put S. I'm wondering if it's Sonia. Was that you? I'm not sure, my love. And she asks, I'm just wondering, when you get sick, say with the common cold, how do you heal yourself, or do you go to the doctor? Okay, so of course, disclaimer, blah, we have to say, right, like, if you're unwell, please go see your doctor. Don't listen to anything I say. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I will tell you what I do. I avoid the doctor at all costs. I don't think this is a virtue. And in fact, I actually really do need to go see the doctor. I really need a checkup. So that's something that's on my mind. I'm not a big fan of doctors. I prefer, certainly, if there is something I can do on my own, to do it. But obviously there is so much that the medical industry can give us that we cannot give ourselves, right? So I'm not someone who, by the way, believes in like not having Western medicine. It's more just, I don't like going to the doctors. Do you know what I mean? If I knew a doctor and I could just call them up, like, I'd probably be doing that quite a bit, to be honest. But it's more the process of going to see a stranger, and then, like, you know, you go in for a cold and they're like, all right, take your pants off, kind of thing. Like, I'm not a big fan. And I'm talking more, this is like, I'm saying my experience more from when I had a kid. It was like, because, you know, you have to go to the natal visits, the prenatal visits, and you never know which one they're going to say, all right, it's time for us to have a look inside there, you know, and it's just like, gee, it's horrible. I don't like that. I'm very private. I don't like it. All right. Anyway, so, okay, so what do I do? Was the question. So when I'm just having like a little illness, a little not so nice thing, I like to have fire cider. Okay, so I make my own fire cider. So there is an amazing book on this. I'm gonna pop it here for you guys that I have, and it's got tons of different recipes in there. Basically, fire cider is just apple cider vinegar imbued with various ingredients, so whatever the ingredients are, but very commonly there'll be things like garlic, different herbs, so like rosemary, thyme, you know, just all the different herbs. Elderberry is a very common one to have in there as well. Different citrus fruits sometimes, so lemons and oranges and stuff like that. Different spices too. all these different things. So I was actually thinking of making a fire cider with you guys. I just remembered I was talking about that last year. If that's something that interests you, if you would like me to show you how I make my fire cider, then please let me know. But what I do with that is I'll put that in some water. You can mix it with elderberry syrup as well, although I find that's a bit too, it goes to my head and I don't really like it actually too much. It's too sweet for me, which I cannot believe I'm saying that because I'm like insane sweet tooth. But yeah, you just have a little bit of that every day and that goes well. I'm a huge believer in garlic, okay? European background, hello, garlic in everything. That's what makes it taste good. So garlic. That's what I do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I do my best to rest, obviously. I think that, the body's just saying, all right, we just need to calm down now. We need to chill. And honey. I'm a big, honey has always been very big in my family. My great uncle had his own bees. So he had a honey farm, I guess. Well, he had a farm and he had bees on it. And so we grew up with like real raw, amazing honey. Oh my God, so good. I can't really get my hands on decent honey at the moment. Like actual raw honey that crystallizes when it's a little bit old, like proper, untampered with honey. But honey is amazing as well. If you can get raw honey, garlic, apple cider vinegar, you're good to go. All right, so the next question is from Sick Turnip, and she asks, what is an area of practice you'd like to get into for the first time? Ooh, oh my God, there's so many. Okay, so something is palmistry. I really want to learn about palmistry. That's something that has been on my wish list for ages. I'd love to learn a lot more about ceremonial magic. That's more like one day though, because there's just a lot of other things. What else am I wanting to get into? Oh, another one is numerology. I do know a little bit about numerology, but a lot of the people that I work with, as in a lot of the people that kind of come in to be worked with, I guess, clients, students, that sort of thing, are really into numerology. There seems to be a lot of it's very sort of heavily new age in that way, a lot of the people that come through to us. And they're all about numerology. I just realized I've got a palmistry book right here. It's not actually a book. It's a box that looks like a book, posing as a book, because I don't have enough books. I need boxes that look like books. Anyway, squirrel. So yeah, a lot of them are very heavily into numerology. So they'll ask me different numerology questions and whatever, and like want to know about this and that. And I'm like, to me, it sounds like you know what you're talking about. Like, anyway, but I want to get more into numerology. Mostly it is for the sake of other people. Like for my own self, I feel like I know enough. Like I'm good with the amount that I know about numerology, but because I get a lot of questions that way, that is something I want to really deepen as well. That's all I can think of right now. Those kind of things are stuff that I'm really looking forward to getting into. This is why I read so much, you guys. There's just so much out there to learn, which just makes me so fucking excited. Like, I'm like, I have my lifetime to get into all this stuff. And I feel like it's not enough. Like every time I learn more, I realize how much I don't know. I uncover about 20 new things that I want to learn about, But that's the thing that's just so exciting to me, or one of the things that's so exciting to me about living a magical life is just all the shit there is to learn. Like there's always something new and exciting around the bend, and I'm here for it. So the next question she asked is, what areas of witchcraft don't really resonate with you? So I'm not big into the Sabbats, although I'm always aware of them, and I've told you guys this before. I'll use them magically if I want to harness some of that energy. I don't cast circle at all. I did it a couple of times in the beginning of my practice, but I'm just not into circle casting. I don't do that. I mean, there's tons of stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to think of specific examples. I mean, there's every time I read a book, for example, or watch a video or whatever, not always with watching videos, but there's always stuff in there that I'm like, well, I'm never going to do that. Like, that's not my practice, but I always enjoy hearing about it as well. So for me, nothing's off the table, because I'm always like, if I ever resonate with something, then that's awesome, and I'll explore that and we'll do that thing. But that's probably the main thing that I can think of, is that I don't circle cast. Let's just fix this hair. All right, the next one is from Ivory Moon, and she asks, what are your go-to resources for your craft currently? The next question, which is the lead on, are there any books, people, blogs, etc. that you recommend? Oh, I wish I had planned this one. Okay, so I mean, my resources are my books, certainly. I dip into different ones depending on what it is that I need. All right, let me grab a couple of books, okay, to share with you, because I'll just give some general kind of recommendations. All right. Oh my God, it was so hard just to choose a few, but these are ones. Okay, a few of these I reach into fairly regularly, some I don't. Okay, so the first one I'm going to recommend is Utterly Wicked. So this is an awesome book for dark magical reference, if you will. So there's a lot of different spell ideas in here. So this is a really good one for various darker ideas for magical things. But in terms of like actual reference books, these are the two that I'm always in. These are my two herbal books. So I'm really, really big into herbal magic. So Hoodoo, Herb and Root Magic is my favorite one. It's just not extensive enough. There's just like, I want it to be more, but it's amazing. It's so good. And then of course the Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs by Cunningham. That's a really good one. And then I think in terms of spells, it's a really good reference book, but if you're new, you're going to need other information to kind of help you out with, like, because it doesn't go into how to do things and a lot of what stuff is. It's just like, these are spells, but it's the Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells by Judica Illes, I think. This one's really, really good. It's got a lot of ideas in here for different things. It's also got a formulary in the back, which I love. So that's, you know, how to make different oils and powders and, you know, various magical formulas. So that's really cool too. Another reference book, which I didn't bring over, I probably should have, is I think it's the complete, I think it's Llewellyn's Complete Book of Correspondences. I didn't bring it over because it's one that a lot of people love, but I just don't. I think I might have in the beginning of my practice, and it's definitely one I would recommend. I should grab, hang on a second. Like, if I'm saying that, I've got to bring the fucking book over, right? Okay, so it's this one. It's actually quite expensive though. So the Complete Book of Correspondences, I think it is good. I've just found that almost literally everything that I have wanted to use this book for, it's not in here. It's a decent sized book, but still there's so much missing. And I haven't heard anyone kind of mention that about it, but there's just a lot of stuff. So I'm like, oh, awesome, I'm going to look at this thing. And I'm like, it's not in here. My major gripe with this book, wagging my finger. Okay, to me, one of the most important parts of a book, any book, is the index, because that's what makes it a good reference book. So you can pick up the book, and I don't even know if this one has it, pick it up and go to the back and say, oh, is this particular, you know, topic talked about in this book? Great, it is. I'm going to flick to that page, right? This index is fucking bullshit. Oh my God, it makes me I feel passionately angry about this. So normally with an index, it's from A to Z, right? So you can quickly go through and say, is this particular word that I'm looking for in there? This one has an index which is broken up into 27 different sections that start from A to Z, A to Z, A to Z, 27 times. I went through and wrote them all down so I could try and help myself find things in here. Oh. Whoever decided to index like this needs to be fired. I'm sorry, but oh my God, I hate it. Anyway, so it's completely useless to me half the time because I can't find anything in there. But yeah, so there's, you know, it's a good one though, I think. It's not my favorite. I was disappointed with it, but again, I think at the beginning of my practice, it would have been really, really, really valuable. So those are some good kind of reference books. I don't really blog. I don't really read blogs. Sarah Ann Lawless used to have a fucking amazing blog. I did love her blog, but she took it down. So I know she's got a new website now, but I think I did check it a few weeks ago. She only has like 1 or 2 blog posts up there or something, but I don't know why she did that, but hers was good. Like she had really, really good information. And in terms of people, so this is for go to references for the craft. So I think the Lady Grave Dancer is amazing. She's got a really, really good body of work on her channel for a lot of really good information. Another really good one for spells is Arabian Conjure. She's fucking awesome. Love her. I'm trying to think of who else is really good for like very, very specifically like witchcraft, like reference kind of material. I've got a hair that's following me. I can't think off the top of my head, but again, if you go to my channel, wherever it is, and you click on channels, right? I've got a bunch of different channels there, and a lot of those are really good. I just can't think off the top of my head at the moment in terms of like spell work and stuff like that. I mentioned in my last video the Witch of the Dismal Swamp. She's quite good. She's got some good spells on her channel as well. I don't think I answered that question very good. I don't think I did justice, but that's my answer for now. All right, the next one is from Crystal Eyes, and she asks, has your faith ever been shaken? Why and what did you do? My faith. I certainly went through a period where I was very uncertain about what my spiritual beliefs were. And I think that was ultimately very good for me. It was completely ungrounding though. Like I just felt adrift in the world and I was like, what the fuck is anything? I don't even know. That was horrible. That lasted for just over a year, I think, where I was just like, I don't know what I believe. I don't know who I am. Like, do I like the word witch? Do I want to keep that? I don't know. Like, just, In terms of like faith in my spellcasting ability, yes, it's certainly been shaken on multiple occasions. And that for me is like, I'm a very insecure person. I'm just really insecure. And so when I'm going through periods of like the downward slumps, it is easy to forget the outcomes that I've had in the past, you know, where it's like, you know, I work this spell and I know that it's not even that I forget. It's just that like, you know, you go through those times where you're like, oh, I'm worthless. What can I even do anyway? So it's more like head stuff, right? Obviously, but I can get to the point sometimes where I'm not snapping myself out of that and go, no, hang on a second. You're a fucking witch. Put your big girl pants on and let's get this thing happening. And I think a large part of that is the energy that it takes. So like, you know, most of the time when you work magic, it's not like one spell and done. Like you just do the thing and then it's like, you know, oh, there's the thing that you wanted. It's like, it's consistent energy work. So a lot of, like, I get the question sometimes, like, do I have to believe in my spell for it to work? Do I have to believe it's going to work? It's like, well, yeah, I know it can be really difficult sometimes, but we need to use belief as a tool. We need to step into magical space and suspend disbelief for a period of time. That is the work. That is the work right there. And whenever we can at other stages as well, we need to do the same thing. We're just going to suspend disbelief for a moment. Like, I know that I'm feeling like this. I know that I'm feeling abysmal. I know that I'm not believing in myself. But for this moment, I'm just going to choose to consciously put out there my desire and sort of put out that magnetizing energy for a moment for what it is that I want. And in this one little moment that I'm just going to push all the bullshit aside, I'm going to believe that it's possible. And like, I am never a 1000% all the time believer and positive thinker and all that sort of stuff. But I really believe that the work of witchery is working on our mind, is getting our mind right. It's not about necessarily learning how to cast the spells right. Like, I love spellcraft, you guys. I really love it. I love the candles and the herbs. I love learning techniques. I love reading about it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I do think there are sometimes incorrect ways to do things, right? But I think that the biggest thing and the number one thing and the thing that will get you by, sorry, there's a floaty. The thing that will get you by is your mind. Like, I mean, if you don't have that, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter if you do the spell perfectly by the book or by the way that the person tells you how to do it. It doesn't matter, because what it actually is, it's just external actions for internal happenings. It's an external pattern of what's going on inside. You know, you've got to have your mind in that place. I'm going off on a tangent here. What did you do? So I think that kind of answers that question. Is like, I allow myself, when I'm feeling like shit, I allow myself to have that time. Something that I find really works for me is journaling. This is a practice I've built over many years. And I go into my journal, I will bitch and complain about whatever it is. And then I actually talk to myself and I go, right, it's time for you to pull your head in. Get your shit together now, you know, and this might be, you know, it might be in that one session. It might be over various times, because I know that I am the one that can change my life. Like, this is what magic is about. It is about self-empowerment. And I think over the last few years, particularly, maybe always, there has been so much messaging of disempowerment from other witches. It's like, oh, just own your terrible, you know, feelings and it's fine. And like, just, oh, like, we can't help, like, it's just with me for life. It's just what it is. Bullshit. It's not true. Like, yes, things are shitty now, and you know what? They might be for a long time to come. And yes, maybe you're going to have to learn to manage these waves. I mean, we all do. We've all got to learn how to manage the waves of life. But you don't have to stay in the shit. Like, don't believe that message. Things can change and things can get better. I've come from a background of terrible depression where I, you know, was suicidal and all kinds of stuff. And I don't have that in my life anymore. It's possible to come out of it. You can tell how passionate I am about this. Oh my God. Yes, I still struggle with anxiety. You know, yes, I have problems. And yes, my mind isn't always like, you know, sunshines and rainbows. It's certainly not. But I just, like, there's always, like, there's hope. Things can be better. You don't have to be low vibe for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? I just think there's a lot of messaging like that out there now, where it's just like, I don't want to use the words that are like the hot button words, because I'm not interested in people's bullshit. I'm just fucking not. And I know if I use those words, there's going to be people that come at me, but like, I don't know. Your life can get better. It doesn't always have to be bad. I've kind of gone off the topic again. But I think, you know, we all go through these times where our faith is shaken, our faith in ourselves, perhaps our faith in, you know, deity or spirit or whatever. Like, are they really going to come through for me? Are they really there for me? It's something that we all go through. And the way we can get through it, I think, is finding resources where people actually speak in a hopeful way. You know, where they say, this is some stuff that I went through and actually I managed to come out of it. Journaling is amazing for me. I know, I think the tarot can be incredible, or another kind of divination form that you feel comfortable with. That can be a really good way to feel connected and actually converse, you know, with your higher self or with spirit or whoever. That can be a way to get through things. And I think it's okay to take the pressure off ourselves as well. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. I mean, in general, in the world, and all the different groups of people that we, you know, identify with or whatever. But as witches, there is this innate pressure to like be an incredible witch and like, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it's okay to just put that down sometimes, you know, put that mantle down, just be like, okay, right now I feel like crap and that's fine. And I'm just going to be in this, you know, and when you feel up to it, you go, okay, now I'm getting the witch pants on and we're going to fucking do this, you know? So I hope that answers the question. I know that I've just gone off on a rant there. All right. The very last question is from KTX. Not really sure how to say that. It's Katie with an X on the end. She asks, how do you get back into witchcraft after a dry spell? pardon the pun, love it. But like when you're getting over a burnout, how do you get your magical jam going again? Oh my God, such a good question. For me, I think, again, pressure off, like it's okay. You really need to give yourself that space and time. I think that's very important. I think that's the first step. Let it go and let yourself just be and breathe for however long it is that you need to, okay? Just do that. Give yourself a fucking break. And then coming back, I think you just keep it very simple. So for me, what really helped was choosing one thing to do every day. And maybe you don't want it to be every day for yourself, right? But for me, that really helped just to get that habit into place. And I've talked to you guys about this before. For me, the one thing was simply putting a cup of water on my altar every day. First of all, it connected me in, sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. Oh, it's so itchy. Oh my God. Okay. It connected me in with my practice, obviously, but it also brought me to the altar every day. So it just helped me to put just a tiny little bit of energy into my altar space. For me, my altar is very much like my spiritual home. And I know a lot of other witches feel the same way. Some don't, that's fine. But for me, it's my spiritual home. It's where a lot of my magic takes place. There are other altars that it does as well. The house it does as well. Outside it does as well. But here is like the hub. So for me, just putting a glass of water on my thing every day, it gave me a little space to kind of just, what I did was then I kind of practiced gratitude. And I was like, today I'm grateful for this one thing. Put the cup on the thing. That really, really helped me. So putting into place one very, very simple little ritual every day. It could be something like maybe it's 30 seconds, literally 30 seconds of meditation. Perhaps it's lighting an incense stick. Perhaps it's when you get out of bed, kind of like stomping your feet on the ground and going, okay, whatever it is, just one little thing that you bring into your life that feels magical for you, like whatever that is. Like I have my certain way of practicing. I know we all do, right? We all have different ways of doing things and whatever. But one simple little thing, I find that helps. I also have found finding resources that feel inspiring can be helpful, although I think a lot of us, like, you can still stay in burnout if you do that. Like you go, oh, I'm doing witchery, but really I'm just sitting around watching YouTube videos. I'm not actually doing anything, right? But that can be helpful, getting simple ideas from other people, inspiration from other people. And I think like for me, something else that really helped me was to draw cards. So I really love tarot and oracle cards. Back then, particularly, it was oracle that I was using. So I would just draw an oracle card when I felt like it. So it wouldn't necessarily be every day, but it was maybe like every few days or whatever, or maybe it might be once a week or something. But it's literally just what helped me is choosing very small, really easy little rituals that I could do on my worst day. I think that's very helpful. So that consistency for me was important, but for other people, it's being more creative, being more free flowing. So going, okay, I'm going to try this thing this week, or I'm going to do this thing this other week. Like being more loose with it can be really helpful. Seriously, my nose is just like, what is happening? What is the folklore around itchy noses? Like, oh my God, something's happening. All right. Yeah, well, that for me is what helped me. But I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what is your things that you have done in the past where you have felt magical or spiritual burnout? What are some of the tips that you have for everyone for getting back kind of in your magical groove again? Because I'd really love to see some of those pointers, and that could be really helpful for some people as well. I'm getting super hot now. Maybe that's why my nose is itching. I don't know. My nose is like, all right, we're hot. We need to, I don't know what the logic is there. Anyway, I would really love to hear that. I would also love to hear your guys's? suggestions and answers for any of these questions. So let me know what your favorite resource books, people, or blogs are. Let me know. And let me know what you have done to, like when your faith in yourself or in your deities has been shaken, how have you kind of got that back on track? You know, what did you do to kind of feel like your faith was strong again? And after a dry spell, if you've ever had a dry spell in your witchery, what did you do to kind of get back on track? Let us know. And the last thing I wanted to say was, please put your questions down below. If you have any questions for me for the next Q&A, which I'll get to much quicker this time, please leave those down below and I will answer your questions in another video coming up. All right, I'm wishing you guys so much love and many blessings, and I'll chat to you again very soon.